Welcome to Scramble Game Show. Today we have a special guest, our supervisor of Town of Somers, Mary Beth Murphy. She's joining us at this hour. Before we begin our show, I will tell you what we're going to do today. As usual, the first half an hour we'll have an interview with Mrs. Murphy, and the second half an hour we'll have the game. Now, let me introduce our town supervisor.
Nice to be here today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We usually like to invite people to our show, sort of as our children's role model. We have invited in the past Assemblyman Greg Ball. We invited the school principal, John Griffiths, people to come to the show to sort of relate to kids about what's education all about. As you know, education is very important for the children and for parents, for the community. So we like to get as much communication going with all the parties involved, all the so-called stakeholders involved about education. And I think it's never too early for even very young kids to understand, what's going on in the community, what we are doing for them, for their future, so they could appreciate and they would exert their efforts, to be sort of excel in education. Now, in our typical way of doing this is very casual. Anything you would like to say, and sometimes we have audience. We do allow audience to ask questions. Sometimes we don't have audience. They arrive for the game. So we will begin by asking you a few personal questions. I know you've been a long resident of Somers, right?
Yes.
And you also have children in school. Would you tell us about your family?
I'll be happy to. My husband and I, with our young daughter, at that time only 4 months old, moved to Somers about 18 years ago. And we've lived here very happily ever since. We have 3 children. The oldest will be graduating from Somers High School next week, so we're very happy about that, and going off to college. And then I have 2 sons, 16 and 13 years old. And all of my children are involved in various sports activities and other extracurricular activities, as well as, of course, their school programming. And my eldest 2, I'm happy to say, hold down part-time jobs as well. So
that's
we're
great. Wonderful.
A busy family.
So the oldest daughter going to college. Do you know which college she's going to now?
Yes, she'll be attending SUNY Geneseo.
Oh, I see.
In September. We're very excited about that, and she'll be studying foreign relations.
Oh, very good, wonderful. I have also children in the school. I have 4 boys. My oldest is junior. He's going to be senior next year, and the second one is a freshman, and then third one is a 6th grader, and the fourth one is 3rd grader. In fact, the year before, I covered 4 schools in the Somers school district.
I've done that too. Not 4, but 3 at once,
right.
Yes, several times. It's
so
interesting catching all those buses.
Right. And it's interesting also, we have a unique school system that is breaking the elementary school into 2 parts. Sort of that's how we have these 4 schools. And some schools probably don't have that. They have all the 6 years in one school. And I kind of like it because I think gives the children a more chance to sort of change environment and more chance to looking forward to sort of this is another level, higher level. I think it's doing better for children.
Yeah, I think that gives them a very good sense of progression. They graduate out of Primrose, or they graduate out of the intermediate school and move on to the next level. I also think it's good for creating a sense of community, because everybody in the town who has children that are in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade attend the Primrose School. So it gives you an opportunity, because we have a very large town, as you know, it's 33 square miles.
Right.
And it gives the community a place to gather together, and children, of course, are a great catalyst for adults
Yep.
to become friends.
And also,
and
fortunately,
companions.
the four schools are very close in proximity. It's not sort of too far apart, like 10, 15 miles away. So it's very nice that people really do have that kind of a sharing everything, you know, knowing everything's going on. So in your job, I know as a supervisor, you got all kinds of issues to deal with, but I want to focus on education, and particularly things you do for education, okay? I know you have certain programs that under your town's control to offer to our community and kids. Would you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Mostly through our Parks and Recreation Department, we
Right.
offer various programs to enhance different aspects of a child's development, not per se related directly to reading and writing, but maybe to orienteering or karate or other types of life skills that are very, very necessary, of course, to a young person's growth and development. We work very closely with the schools, actually, in terms of affording a place for the different events to take place. We have many of our programs in the schools. The schools hold
Yes.
many of their recreational programs in the parks. And we try to integrate as best we can to offer the best service to the community.
Right,
in
right.
terms
I
of
think a
programming.
lot of people do look forward to many of this program being offered, and certainly you are not only offering to the children, but also to adults for some of the community sort of education type of program, right?
We do, yeah. We have senior programming, we have computer training, we have all kinds of health type of related programming through both our nutrition program as well as a senior club, offering different types of trips and things of that nature.
Right, right.
We have reading clubs through the library
Yeah.
for all ages, right from
Oh, yes,
tots at 2 years old through,
Yeah,
our
and we have
octogenarians.
really an excellent library, actually. I think we really should encourage all children to sort of take advantage of this nice library. And library also have children's program and other program that sort of supplement to the school's activities.
Very much so. The
Yeah.
library is always looking for new programming and trying to be on the cutting edge of what people
Mm-hmm.
want to do. We have all kinds of internet access there and DVDs and of course books, and we belong to the Westchester Library System
Right,
as
that's
well,
a nice,
which affords you just a huge array of options in terms of the material that's accessible to you.
Yeah, as you know now, summer is coming, and the summer, the parks, recreation parks, also run a summer camp program, and they cover a lot of sort of activities.
We do. We try to modify the program for the age group involved. We have 3 different stages of programming. One for the very small children, which involve a lot of arts and crafts and things of that nature, and then moving on to the kind of mid-range age children, which we do a mixture of sports and arts and crafts and trips, things like that. And then with the older kids, they tend to like to go on trips more and,
Right, right,
that
right.
kind of entertainment. So
Yeah, and also I think maybe you could point out to our audience, this is of course program for kids to participate as camps, but you also actually offer an opportunity for the older kids or youth to be camp counselor and to work there and to work with children, and that is a very good experience for our children.
We hire almost 100
100?
students every year to work in the camp program, and virtually all of them are Somers residents. So it's an opportunity for a youngster when they're first getting into the
Right.
job market to be in an environment, first of all, that they're very comfortable with, because a lot of our camp program either takes place at Reese Park or at one of the schools.
Yes.
And so they're very comfortable with the environment. They're close to home should anything come up. And oftentimes they're counselors for children that they know through friends and relationships that the families have established.
It's very, very educational. My older son, of course, last summer he did take a job as a counselor. And I can remember the first, sort of paycheck that he received. It's a wonderful experience. Of course, he immediately asked me to open a bank account. So all of this actually can be very, educational, because we all should understand how to manage money, how to sort of all these finances and so forth. So even though that job is not a big job, but it's a first job, it's very important. And of course, now we know the federal just passed a minimum wage law. I don't know whether that comes down to us yet, how much we're paying these guys.
Not actually in the counselor. It's because of the nature of the job. It's a little bit different than a regular retail position. So it's not. It doesn't
so
impact
our
us
audience can't hope for a raise yet.
No, but on the other side of that, the campers know that they can still get a fairly good rate.
Good rate to participate.
For their participation. So it works both ways.
Both ways, yeah. I think this federal minimum wage law, of course, has quite a bit of impact to many, I guess, state level, county level business and so on. It's very hard to say. I mean, it's certainly an issue. Sometimes people have pros and cons about it. Okay, some people feel that we have to raise our level of our sort of living standard, but on the other hand, that certainly puts inflation pressure on businesses. Right?
It puts some burden. I mean, in government, obviously, we clearly pay the minimum wage and always have. So it's not so much an issue for the running of the business of government per se.
Yeah.
But clearly, in terms of the economy at large and the small business owner who's trying to make a go of it, it's
difficult.
Things like that do have a serious impact.
Now, in our town, we all very proud of our town being a nice environment, all this. And today, of course, environmental issue is a major issue, and I know you have that in your mind all the time, trying to keep our beauty and the landscape and the forests and the land and so on. You would like to say something to our kids? Now, what's your effort and what do we really want to do for our town?
Yeah, the town itself, we've certainly tried to make great strides in terms of open space preservation and how that relates to drinking water quality. Most of the people in Somers drink groundwater that comes out of a well.
Well water,
those that don't drink groundwater drink the water that comes from the Amawalk Reservoir. So we can see every day when we drive around the Amawalk Reservoir how important it is to maintain clean water and to try to maintain a good and adequate water supply too. And one of the things that children can do, some very, very simple things in their own home to try to ensure that water stays clean and that we have a good supply. It astounds me that with all the water on the planet, all the oceans and the rivers and the streams
drinking
and the
water
lakes,
actually is going to be an issue.
Only 2.8% of all the water out there is fresh water, fresh water that's drinkable. So that's a very small percentage, and we really do have to guard it. It's just a matter of simple things like when you brush your teeth, turning off the tap, making sure the dishwasher's full when you're washing dishes. You can do some very, very simple things like that. Your shower, your bath, making sure you're not overloading the system. Those are some very, very simple things that you can do. And even more importantly, perhaps, in terms of the quality of the water, is making sure that what you put down drains is not a toxic chemical or
that's
something
very,
like
very
that.
important,
Because those kinds of toxic chemicals can ultimately get into our groundwater supply.
Right.
Most of the people in Somers also, that when the water goes down the drain, it goes into their septic system in their backyard. And the way a septic system works, which not everybody understands, but essentially the water gets the water that comes out of the septic system and goes into the ground essentially gets cleaned by the dirt in the ground and ultimately winds up in the drinking supply again.
Right.
So you have to be careful what you're putting down the drain. You have to be careful about the chemicals that you put on your lawn in order to maintain a green lawn. Those are just some very simple things that people can do.
I think sometimes the school does teach kids in class that when they use things, do not arbitrarily just put into the sink and wash off and so on. That's important. One thing I know, I don't know every family, but in general, my observation, the kids don't seem like to take a shower every day or every often. You have to sort of urge them to say, hey, about time. But then another thing I also observe sometimes is once they do, the water just keep on running, and the next person may not have hot water or something like this. So this might be a good point to tell our kids,
We have the very same issue in our house. It's hard to get them into the shower, but once you get them in there, very hard to get them out. That is an important issue, particularly in times of drought and things like that. You can use up to 50 gallons of water in your average shower. That's a lot of water going down the drain. And also, if you're running your dishwasher and your washing machine and somebody's taking a shower all at the same time, that can overload your septic system as well. So if a child wanted to help out in terms of water conservation, maybe all they would have to do is cut 2 or 3 minutes off their shower. It's not a very burdensome task, but it really would be meaningful in the long run. And the same applies to issues like global warming. Everybody, global warming is a very big issue on the environmental horizon right now, and people are looking for big solutions, but there's a lot of little solutions that people can adapt their daily life to, which will really collectively make a great impact. Turning the lights out when you leave the room. How many times do the children go into the family room, they're playing games or whatever.
Particularly TV. Leave TV on is really wasteful.
You do not need to have a TV on in all 4 rooms of your house when you're only in one particular room. Turning the lights, the TV, air conditioners, turning them down during the day or off if you're not there. Just simple things like that. Not opening the window when you have the air conditioning on can really make a big difference in the overall impact in terms of global warming. And I mean, for kids, global warming might be a kind of a hard issue to understand. So I try to just simplify it to, just a couple of degrees temperature change over a long period of time can impact things like the level of the ocean, which can impact where people live, where food is grown. It might be a nice idea to think, oh, it'll be nice and sunny here and we'll be able to enjoy warm weather all year round, but it can impact on food supplies and places where people live and very important issues like that. So doing some of those simple things, carpooling. Next time you go to your soccer game or you're going to your after-school class, go with a friend and go together instead of taking
everybody
2 cars
drives
there.
car.
That's a very good way to have a positive impact in terms of the global climate.
I think everyone is sort of duty or responsibility to manage their environment. Anything you can contribute and help certainly would be good. So I think this probably through school and through town we should constantly educate everybody, and we all sort of share this concept. It's a philosophical concept that you should bear in mind from early on. Right. Any other issue in town you think is sort of be interesting to our younger audience?
Well, I did, if I could just take an opportunity to kind of remind everybody about the Independence Day celebration that we're having on June 30th. It's a week from this Saturday.
Coming up.
No, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from this Saturday. And it really is planned to be a very, very fun-filled family day. We're going to start out with a parade, which will start at the high school. There's several bands that will be attending. There'll be lots of dignitaries and fun things for the children to do. There's going to be a food tasting from some local restaurants.
Wow, that's
There'll be,
great.
you know, all kinds of games for the kids to enjoy all day long. And I really think that it would be nice to get
where it starts and sort of congregation.
It will start the parade will actually start at 10:30, but people arrive between 9:30 and 10:30, and you can, if you want to march in the parade, you start at the high school. Or else, you know, the street will be closed from the high school down to Reese Park. And so you can stand anywhere along the street, and we'll end at Reese Park and have a, you know, brief ceremony to honor our nation, of course. And then the festivities will begin. There'll be, of course, the culmination is the fireworks that night at 9:30, but throughout the entire day, there's going to be puzzles and games and all kinds of fun things for children.
Yeah, I always enjoyed that particularly fireworks. You know, we live pretty close, sort of off the reservoir, Amawa Reservoir. So it's very close for us to get to the Reese Park. And every July 4th, that fireworks really is enjoyable. Yeah. Now, we also noticed that a lot of times we have out-of-town people coming to this kind of, you know, celebration. So with your expanded program, do you expect a lot of people coming from out of town?
The out-of-town people tend to come for the fireworks. They don't tend to come for the day's activities. We do have a Somers residents-only policy, but we've, you know, we're not.
You can't
really
usually
throw people out of
the
park, but it is, you know, we do ask that it is for Somers residents. It's paid for with Somers tax dollars. The fireworks are. The rest of the day is all done by volunteers. The Lions and the Chamber of Commerce and many other volunteer organizations. It's going to be a hayride this year, going up to the Reese Homestead.
Oh, very nice.
So we really have quite a few fun events planned, and those events are all completely done by volunteers.
So I would like to tell the audience, I mean, this is very soon coming. It's June 30th, which is Saturday, earlier than the July 4th actual day, but it's an all-day event, so people should really sort of prepare for it. And of course, you know, usually when gathering like this, parking is a bit of a problem. So you need to go there early, find your spot, and get a nice spot in the park and enjoy.
Absolutely. And we will have shuttle buses from parking at the various schools, which we always have every year. So there'll be plenty of places to park if you need.
So we probably will make this known to the citizens or residents rather through your, you know, communication channel. We don't have to advertise too far away because then you may have too many people coming for our town affair.
Yeah, we usually send out notices through the school. We post it in various locations, the library, the park, and places where Somers residents tend to congregate, and it'll be on the town website as well as the town public access TV station.
Well, we'll make sure that this show will be broadcast, you know, before this event, so that our town people will know that this is coming up, and we are looking forward to it.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think we usually want to tell our guests a little bit about our program. We reserve to the end because that works nicely into the game, you know, following, you know, when kids come in to play the games. The Scramble game show is about almost a little over a year now. Time just goes fast. The history is this: the Scramble games actually is my family game. We played this for a long time, and when I came to this country many years ago, almost 40 years ago, I was introduced to the Scrabble game by a school teacher, and I loved it. You know, that game is very good, and I quickly learned. But every time I play with the school teacher and the family and her sort of children, I end up always winning. But I also realize I haven't really gained much in vocabulary, okay? I still have the same set of vocabulary I learned through my sort of college, whatever words that I know of. Then I said, why is that? I look into this question, why is the Scrabble supposed to be a word game? And I win every time, but I don't think I gain much vocabulary. Finally, I analyzed, because the Scrabble game, the structure they made you to play, you are playing the 2-letter word, 3-letter word to maximize your points. You got to do this in parallel, so you make 3 words, 4 words together. And then I look into it in 2-letter word. This is back maybe 20 years. That time, there's only 90-some words as 2-letter word. So you can easily memorize that in your head. I mean, 90 words, it's not a big deal. And even 3-letter words, it's about 900.
Wow.
Okay? So you say, oh, less than 1,000 words you can memorize in your head, and you play this game with those, it would be very, very easy to, sort of win the game. So I said, this now I realize. So eventually I changed the game. I made it, and I named it afterwards, actually. That time I didn't have a name. It's called Scramble. I said, you scramble the words and make words. It will help you to learn vocabulary. Also, I took away the waiting problem, that when you play Scrabble, you wait a turn. And sometimes somebody's slow and you are, hey, come on, let's move, right?
Most kids don't like to wait.
Right, exactly. So I made this game you play all the time, same time, together.
Great.
And when letters come up, you recognize word, you spell it, that's your word. But somebody else can take a letter, insert it into the word, scramble it, and take it away. So now everybody can play and make words unlimited. There's no 7-letter word limit as a Scrabble usually. That's bingo, you got a 7-letter word. So in that case, now when we introduced this into school and so forth, I immediately realized, I said, this is not only fun, but beneficial. So I devoted my time. I said, well, let's create a game, create this. So now here we are. We have the Scramble Game Show every Wednesday, 6:30, Channel 22, for our public channel in Somers, Yorktown general area. Down south in Chappaqua, New Rochelle, it's different days, Saturday, 6 o'clock, and Peekskill, different. Even now, as north to Carmel, they have Comcast, but also broadcast in different hours. So it's sort of expanding and reaching out, and judging from kids playing, they're really gaining. It's a learning tool, learning game, as well as enjoyable game. So that's our story.
It sounds wonderful. Vocabulary is so important for children in all aspects. I mean, communication is really the key to a successful adult life.
Right.
And vocabulary is a very, very key component in that formula. So I think that's something that will carry them and stand them very well as they move into their future.
Yes, well, as you're a public figure, and when we hear you speak and so on, we know that anybody wants to be a successful person in anything, you almost have to be equipped with language, with words, with vocabulary. So now we are running out of time for this show. Always goes fast, half an hour. And thank you so much for coming and joining us and share your views to our young audience. I will like to invite you again sometime, maybe even play with our kids on a Scramble game.
That sounds like great fun. They'll probably beat me, but I have to say it was a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be able to share a little bit about the town with you and with the community and the children, and I hope that they'll employ some of those techniques for conservation and things of that nature, and I think that you have a terrific program.
Definitely we'll do that. Okay, audience, I think you have heard the story. We urge you to pay attention to what our town supervisor has spoken. See you next time.